What's up, guys? Ben Pollack here, and I just want to give you an update on Project Big Ben. The update isn't that good. I got the flu. As you can probably see by the giant dark circles under my eyes, it sucks balls. So it happened, I started getting sick on my fiance and our anniversary. We were driving, we were going to like a little bed and breakfast down the country, and dude, I was like wiped out on the drive down there, and she was driving down, I was going to go back, and I couldn't even keep my eyes open, man. And we get there, and I have to crawl into the fucking bed, and we're there like an hour, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to go home. So she has to drive me it's 5 hours in the car, y'all. It was fucking miserable. And I couldn't even fucking move for the next 2 days. Like, I was in bed for probably 20 hours a day. Like, I got up to eat a little bit because my stomach was okay, but I was just so, like, fucked. And when my fever finally broke, like 2.5 days later, it was just amazing. And so since then, I've had that fucking cough that won't go away, congestion, trouble sleeping, all this stuff. So I'm not saying all this stuff to complain, like, look, it's part of life, right? Like, it happens, it's not surprising, new area, cold weather, stressful, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, you get sick, you move on, you deal with it, but I just wanted y'all to know, look, this is why I haven't been updating y'all. This is why my progress has been a little bit slower than I would have liked the past week. The good news is I'm finally feeling good enough to get back in the gym and start training for real. So, had my first real workout yesterday, went real well. I was super, super happy, all things considered. And I'm going to show you guys some footage of that now. So, sorry, y'all are going to have to bear with me. So, weight-wise, God, guys, my weight fucking plummeted. I was waking up in the mornings like 221, which is awesome for me. Go to bed like 229, even 230 some nights, which is a big, big jump. And all that water just fucking gone overnight. Gone. I woke up at 207, y'all. 15 pounds in like 3 days. And it's all water and glycogen and blah, blah, blah. But it's going to take me a while to put that back on, which sucks. Not a long while, but another week, right? So it's a setback. It's a setback, and it happens, and I'm totally cool with that. The secret now, if you can call it a secret, is, okay, so I missed a week of training. You know, this was kind of during meet prep. I had a lot of momentum going from my gaining project. How do I get that back? What do I do? How do I adjust my training to deal with this? So, there's no one right answer to this. If you've gone through the Unfuck Your Program course, I give a lot of suggestions on how you can deal with this, especially if you know whether it's a short-term thing like the flu or a long-term thing like if you have a new baby, right? And you know, hey, sleep's going to be fucked up, going to be tired, going to be exhausted, going to be stressed for a long time, maybe a year, maybe even more. How do I deal with that in my training? So, first thing, don't panic. Never panic, because panic leads to knee-jerk decisions. It leads to poor decision-making. It leads to bad choices at the end of the day. So, you don't panic. You take some time, reassess. What I did, I leaned on my coach to help me reassess, Jacob Cloud. And so we came up with a solid plan to kind of take the next month, the whole month, right? We're going to take a little bit easier than we had originally planned to give myself the chance to build this momentum back, because momentum is so important for powerlifting, especially when you think of, okay, the whole point of the sport is to build on your strength from week to week, and then on top of that, your strength is going to be very impacted by your mental state. So if you're feeling down and you're feeling discouraged because you had a setback, well, it's going to be really hard to lift at your ultimate potential. So building that momentum back up, very important. And one strategy you can use is by taking an extended period of slightly lighter training in order to regain that. That's one strategy. Another strategy is to just jump back in, full bore. Depending on what type of thing you're dealing with, that might be the right answer. So if you're dealing with a very minor cold, it was like a head cold and you didn't feel great one day, and then the next day you were all stuffy and stuff, but you could get in the gym, well, you're fine. Like, just jump back in. If you're in bed for 3 days and can't move and lose 15 pounds, well, that's a different story, right? So that's what I mean by don't panic. Be smart when you take your time to reassess. So we have two options so far. take some time of lighter training to build back up your momentum, jump right back in. The third option that some people resort to is just resetting completely. So if you're in the middle of the program, you go back to week one. If you've been out of training for a long time, then you start from, square one. And again, this can be appropriate. I think just like it's rare occasions where you want to jump back in full bore, it's rare occasions when you want to start all over. I'd say unless you've taken more than 2 weeks completely off of training, it's probably not the right idea to just completely restart from square one. And by square one, I mean go find my beginner program or something and start there. I think the only time that's appropriate is really when you've taken a very extended layoff from training. So now we have 3 options. Restart completely and just jump right back in. Those are kind of opposite sides of the spectrum. Take a month to rebuild that momentum, or it doesn't have to be a month, it can be a certain amount of time. I think there are a couple other options that you can use if necessary, and these are going to be kind of dependent on special circumstances. So one special circumstance might be you have a deadline, right? Let's say instead of being 16 weeks out of a meet, I was 2 weeks out. And in that case, shoot, I can't really jump back in, right? Because there's no way I'm going to be that sick and then jump back into max effort training 2 weeks out of a meet. But at the same time, I don't have the time to regain a lot of momentum. In that case, you come up with a new plan based on your current situation. So that can be really, really difficult. And in those cases, you just have to make the most of it. But basically, then you're going to work backwards. You say, okay, I have X amount of time until my goal date. It doesn't have to be a meet. It could be you want to look good for your wedding day or a bachelor. I don't give a fuck. A photo shoot. But you work backwards from that date. You say, how much time do I have? Where am I at now? Assuming that I'm back, feeling relatively well rested and healthy and everything. And what's the right balance of aggression and being conservative that I can apply to this situation? So that one's very tricky, and hopefully you're not in that situation in the first place. I think one more special circumstance that might be worth considering is transition phases. So let's say, like me, you're moving, or let's say that maybe you're an athlete and you're in between seasons, right? So it's not necessarily your summer off season, but it's like preseason for football. And you're trying to figure out, okay, so I have a very limited amount of time to work with. This is a different situation, but I don't want to plan for the long term. In that case, right, you don't really have a deadline, but it's still a limited amount of time. I think you're best off just take it day by day. Just one day at a time, do the right amount of work, which is difficult to quantify, and you might want to check out my video on RPE training or the lesson on effort regulation in Unfuck Your Program. And just repeat that day to day to day. And it can be a little bit frustrating not having a big picture in mind, but I think ultimately that's probably your best bet given that special circumstance. So those are some options for you in case you guys find yourself in a similar situation to where I'm at now. Hopefully you don't. I really hope y'all manage to avoid the flu this season, and I hope that y'all like my buzz cut, and I hope that you continue to think strong and train hard. So till next time, signing out.